Meanwhile, in London, Rishi Sunak has declared he's living proof that Britain is not a racist country as he struggles to contain the growing row over Islamophobia. The Prime Minister described the UK as a successful and proud multi-ethnic democracy, adding that that's what makes the country incredibly special. The comments come after Lee Anderson refused to apologise for claiming that Islamists had, quote, got control of the London Mayor Sadiq Khan. Despite losing the Tory whip, the former party deputy chairman insists he will still stand at the next general election, but whether that will be as a Conservative is out of his hands. Meanwhile, Cruella Braverman condemned the ongoing row as hysteria and urged Sunak to shift his focus to tackling the big problem of Islamist extremism. There's a difference between a country being a racist country and there being racism in a country. England, the UK, I'd say, has lots of racism within it. I don't necessarily think it's a racist country, but it permeates our institutions. You go to the NHS, if you are a black woman, you are 3 to 4% more likely to die in childbirth or within the first year giving birth than you are as a white woman. If you go,
I think it's 3 times, not 3%. 3 times.
Oh, sorry, I mean 3 times.
It's worse.
If you go to law, as a young black man, you are likely to be stopped 6 to 9 times more than a white person. If you go to employment, everyone in this country needs to work. You go to employment, if your name is Mohammed, you have to apply for 3 times as many jobs as someone who's called John Smith, because Oxford have done this study, Bristol University done the same study, identical CVs, identical references, whatever. All they change was the name, and the people with the English-sounding names get calls for the first interview. Those with foreign-sounding names don't even get the interview call. So for him to say, oh no, there's no problems here, quite clearly we're seeing...
Yeah, but I think you've packed a lot in there. I mean, that tragic stat of women dying in childbirth isn't because a doctor said, oh, well, she's black, so I'm not going to help her.
No, but that's racial bias within the NHS already.
Well, there may well be, but what I'm saying is in the pie chart of reasons why things happen. But actually, similarly with the name thing, there's lots of different... There's lots of different reasons.
With black women in the NHS, for example, it's because there's a bias that the midwives and the doctors believe that black women are stronger and they don't believe about their pain relief. So that is it.
True. There has been a lot of research.
I've seen people make that accusation. I've never seen a midwife back that up and say they've ever seen that. Now, OK, it's all anecdotal. I appreciate you can look at one survey,
but
you can look at another one.
The statistics are not anecdotal.
No, the statistics aren't anecdotal, and I can't necessarily explain it. But all I do know is when I've interviewed midwives on this very point, there is as much confusion
Why would a midwife come out and say, yeah, actually, I was racist to that black woman? The stats are the facts. Black women are dying in childbirth.
No, but that doesn't... You wouldn't get that through a court case by arguing that case. Somebody would say, well, let's get at the reasons why. And similarly, you know, if a company is employing somebody and Mohammed comes along, they might go, well, I'm sure Mohammed is perfectly capable. And by the way, I can't think of many places where this applies to these days because, you know, whether it's the BBC, the NHS, wherever, it's incredibly diverse, and thank goodness for that. However, a lot of companies will go, well, it might just be easier to have somebody who is called John Smith because that way I'm not going to have a language.
That's not racist.
That's not racist.
Wouldn't
that
it
might
have
be
been
stereotyping.
better?
That might be your choice as an employer to say, I'm going to have a Brit working here because that might well be a case.
Mohammed could still be a Brit.
But wouldn't it have been...
Mohammed could still be a Brit, but your thinking as the employer might be that he might
Very
not,
well.
is the point.
I think you've gone down an alleyway, but wouldn't it have been better had our Prime Minister said our country is not a racist country, however, there are areas of racism and issues that we are to tackle, because otherwise he paints this picture that with this great multicultural country that is doing well with it, which is doing well with it. Let me finish, hang on a second. So if he were to set out what needs to be done, and particularly because he is a person of Indian origin, he can provide a huge amount of expertise to say, well, what has allowed him to achieve greatness to become Prime Minister? I think that there's a huge amount to be said for that. But there's a lot of work to be done, and I really dislike it when politicians think and give this impression that it's all done. It's not.
No. But let's just be clear what Rishi Sunak was doing today. He was deflecting from the accusations that the Conservative Party is Islamophobic. So he was saying, no, nothing to see here. My party, my country is not racist. I'm the living proof of that. He's just trying to distract from that rather than actually dealing with it.
Do you think they are?
He's saying that
Do you think the Conservative Party is Islamophobic?
I think they probably have as much of a problem with that as the left have a problem with anti-Semitism. You know,
I think they're actually two different arguments, but that's a whole separate debate.
No, but I think he was trying to generalise it and say what he said was all politicians also need to be very aware of their language and they need to not inflame tensions.
There are weaknesses in his argument also, which is, I mean, I'm delighted that there is so much diversity within the cabinet and the leadership of the Conservative Party. But let's not forget he wasn't voted for.
True.
Yeah.
He got the job because of trust. He wasn't voted for, which is argument number one. Argument number two is, I'm afraid Lee Anderson, which is where all this comes back to. You know, I think his comments were deplorable. And we hear this evening that it looks like he might be about to sign up with Reform UK. Who knows? Let's not forget, this is the man that told his chief whip, Nobbert, 3 months ago, that he'd been offered tens of thousands of pounds. I think it was actually more, £400,000 or something. Yeah, £430,000 bribes from Reform UK to join the party. Now suddenly he's going to be saying, oh yes, they're my best friends, I'm going to go and join, because he doesn't at the moment. He's not going to be able to stand as a Conservative MP, so he might like to stand as a Reform MP. It stinks,
but also,
in my book.
But the fact that Rishi Sunak is a brown man is not proof that the UK isn't racist. And even if he was elected, it still wouldn't be proof.
It smacks of people saying, I can't be homophobic, I've got some gay friends.
Gay,
Yes, you can be.
Yeah.